There's nothing else to do.
Yeah.
I think it's is to take a safe and learn during the So I try not to. I try my very best not to. But sometimes they can go really slowly in certain areas.
Depends how what bits to drag it up.
2 minutes. I need to get my finger.
Where's my fall in seams?
Yeah.
Fall in seams.
What? You shouldn't be learning either. I do. I think it's worse.
Why is it worse?
I got 2 of these because Harvey said he said he's going to come, but he hasn't yet arrived. No, these are going to come. He's not coming out for some time because of the. Johnson said it's 6 months of this we're going to be having. So.
6 months? Boris doesn't know what he's doing. He's all confused. He's even out bungled the guy who made fun of him. Yeah. Did you see?
Yeah, I heard that.
He's out bungled him. He's completely lost control. He's got no clue.
He lost the bottle long time.
Friday we need to make more. Yes.
Thursday already.
Thursday.
Thursday we need a new Gemara, and tomorrow is a L'chaim.
Tomorrow's a L'chaim.
If you could ask.
Shame on the bottom.
No, tomorrow like
Careful.
Right, I've been drinking.
Right, exactly.
He's having my phone.
I love the sugar water. Why did you take this then?
I don't like it.
Oh, if you catch motion.
Coke Corona, I picked up that bottle.
You heard it like a phone.
No, thank you.
It's good after
I'm exhausted now. Boys came in 2 different boch. I've got 3 boch.
all night.
So one's in Shiur too, so he came in quite early. But one is in Sunderland and one's in Gateshead. Sunderland Kibbutz. What? No, they came Motzi and Kippur. You need a new mortgage now, what?
No, well, I did buy him before Sligo, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Only you want?
Ridiculous. 500 quid now.
Oh, Levi, good evening. I know. We've been recorded forever. This.
Evening, Rabida.
Who's on that? Who's on that?
Levi.
Oh, finally, it's got you.
No, does anybody watch it afterwards? You have to look.
I watched on Friday morning.
If you're there in a few years' time, you're absolutely rolling in dough. That's not my account.
Okay, no with base, 2 lines from the bottom. Okay, let's get cracked. Oh, okay. What happened was a person was out of the tchum. Let's say a person's walking on Friday afternoon and he realizes he's not going to get there in time for Friday afternoon. He's walking. And he's not. No with base, 2 lines from the bottom. He's not going to get to his house before Shabbos. So what he wants to do is go 4,000 amos. So he says, I want to be clean as Shvisa at 2,000 amos extreme. He knows of a certain tree or a certain fence. And therefore, he can be clean as Shvisa. Nun with base, 2 lines from the bottom. Nun with base. Yeah. So let's do inside. Oh, my Shvisa be ikroy. My Shvisa should be at the trunk. Mahadech bokim maglo vat ikroy alpaim amo. He says, I want to be clean as Shvisa at the bottom of the tree, and from there, he's got 2,000 till the tree, 2,000 from the tree to his house. No, this is just a quotation from the Mishnah. It's a quotation, direct quotation from the Mishnah. Says Nun Aleph from Aleph top line. Omar V'hu d'chivoid le'ikroy moti. That means we're talking about somebody, let's say 20 minutes before Shabbos comes in, and he realizes he's not going to get home in time for Shabbos. But he will get to the tree or wherever he wants to be clean as Shvisa before Shabbos. Right? How does it take to walk 2,000 amos?
How long is it?
36 minutes.
No, you're getting the right thing. 18 minutes. 18. He said 15. I noticed this for the first time. It was very interesting. I avoided the Kohen Gadol in Kippur. He sends the son Mishtaleach, which was 12 mil. That's 24,000 amos. And what's very, I always do that. The chiddush is that he's not allowed to continue with the avodah until the soil has been pushed off the cliff. Now, how do you know?
Go back and
The
back
Gemara
in.
Numa asks that. What?
That's true.
Yeah, but not always did it change. So you couldn't rely on that. The Gemara Numa asks question, what gives different answers.
Let's wait for the guy
They had
to come back.
towers, and each one would wave a flag when they saw it. That means they had huts to help him walk there, plus towers. Okay. But I find it interesting because I started working out, if that's how long he has to wait until he's got there 12 mil, so I worked out the rate of 18 minutes, so I worked out it's over 3 hours.
Each way.
No, he only has to see they're going pushed off.
Oh, that
So
way.
for 3 hours on
Then
Yom
they get
Kippur,
him
what's he
back.
doing on Yom Kippur? Yeah, he's Tommy, but the Kohen Gadol has to wait inside this window for 3 hours. Work it out.
So what do they do in it?
12 times 18. 12 times 18 is 180, 216. 3 hours, that is 3 hours and 20 minutes. So I looked it up. I said, shoot, for 3 hours, 20 minutes, he has to wait. And then I found that the Rambam says he has to wait like 4.5 hours. So why Rambam was so long? Because the Rambam holds it takes 22 minutes to walk 18
Or maybe
minutes.
he's taking an animal. Maybe it's more difficult as well.
No, it is interesting
It doesn't
that
take 18 minutes.
2,000 hours. 2,000 hours is approximately a kilometer, 1.2 kilometers. Yeah,
About
millions.
3/4 of a mile.
Okay, Mami's getting off the
It's
point.
about 3/4 of a mile.
Yeah, about 3/4 of a mile. It's actually quite a slow pace, so I don't know,
How
think
long
about
you usually
it.
walk about 5
Mountains,
miles
put a
an
mountain.
hour?
No, you don't walk 5 miles an
How
hour.
do you walk?
3.5, 3 miles.
It's
3
mountains.
hours.
Yeah, 3 miles is right. 3 miles is
2
right.
miles an hour.
So it's 20 minutes thing. So yeah, it's right. It's about 18 minutes. Okay. Yeah, somebody biking a bike should have taken you to take the coat, and then they wouldn't have to wait so long. So Taka saw that the Rishonim writes that if he's a fit person and he gets there quicker, the Kohen Gadol has to wait less time. So now you know benefits. Okay.
The string will change earlier than that. I realized.
I don't know that they should. Nobody says that we allow the string changing. Nobody says that. It's
That's the whole point of it.
The Christians got the baptisms with the white hair.
okay. So what happened was like
No,
this.
really getting off topic.
So what happens is Rava says that you have to be able to reach the tree before Shabbos gets in, because when you become the Shvisa, so let's say I'm over here. My home is where Yehuda is sitting, and Tolly's the tree. There's 2,000 amos between me and Tolly, 2,000 amos between him and my home. So I have to be able to reach. Because I think about it for Shabbos, I have to reach. It's mashma choshchele means it's becoming dark and it's getting too dark. It's not going to get there in time. And it's more choshchele base, so it's too dark. He won't get home, but not that he can't get to the tree. He can't get to the tree if he walks slowly. If he runs, he can reach it. So we pass in the Chumrah, by the way, that you have to be able to reach the tree before Shabbos comes. Let's say, for example, 2 minutes before Shabbos, you suddenly say, I want to be Kohen Shvisa 2,000 amos away. It does not work. You have to be able to reach it. So you could decide an hour before, you have to be able to reach it. That was a very short story. Rabbi Yosef of Kozli Bocha. Rabbi Yosef were going on a journey. Rabbi Yosef to say tikla. As we talked about, that if a person wants to be Kohen Shvisa, he has to be a specific spot. So Rabbi said to Rabbi Yosef, let's be Kohen Shvisa underneath a tree. Now, which tree? There's hundreds of trees. You're walking in the forest, in any countryside, you're underneath a tree. 2,000 amos. So he decided to specify which tree. The Gemara gives 2 explanations how he specified it. Either the Savel Achra, it was a tree that supported another one. That means one tree was leaning on another. Or underneath the tree, which the fruit was such good fruit that just selling off 1 year's worth of fruit would pay off all his taxes. It was a tree which he was specifying, either the tree which is supporting another tree, or a tree where the fruit was so valuable and so abundant that he could pay off his taxes. So Rabbi Abba said to Yosef, do you know about this tree? I don't know which tree you're talking about, right? The two of us are walking the countryside. I don't know the area as well as you do. You say to me, it's Kodesh Shvisa. He said to him, rely on me. The Tanya of Yosef, so one of us can work for the other. I can say, I want to be Kohen Shvisa for both of us underneath a specific tree, and I know which tree I'm talking about. You don't, because you don't know the area so well, but that works. It says, well, he quoted it that Rabbi Yossi said it. The truth matters, Rabbi Yossi never said it. Rabbi did not want Rabbi Yosef to be concerned, to get stressed. So what he did was he said to him, Rabbi Yosef said it, even though Rabbi Yosef never said it, because he knew that if he would say to Rabbi Yosef said it, he would accept it. Should Rabbi Yosef is someone that always we pass connect. Remember, if you remember earlier, Rabbi Yosef against any other Tana we pass connect Rabbi Yosef. So therefore, he quoted Magen Avraham, it's Kufin Zayin, discusses this. Are you allowed to make up a halacha? That means, are you allowed to make up a statement and say so and so said it just to convince people of its truth? It says about Sheker, and also how can we say this? Well, Ram says that if you've heard it and you know it is true, then that is permitted. But your own halacha, you're not allowed to. There's a lot of din dvam over here. Maisa, this is how we pass them. That if I don't know it and you do know it, you can be kodesh shvisa for me. Okay. Now, the Mishnah says that if a person is lost or he doesn't know anywhere to kodesh shvisa, how far does he get if he hasn't gone out to his tchum? A normal person, how far does he get? Somebody asked, he's not here. Kaczynski, no, it says it's Sully Kaczynski. There was a few of you asked actually afterwards. At first, I was surprised. If you remember, you get a circle, and we passed like the Chachamim that you get a square. So he asked, how do you tilt the square? I thought scientifically you can't, but it seems like completely wrong. Because there's not a single Rishon that doesn't ask this question. Everybody asks the question, all the way down to Mishnah. Because, yes, if you've got a circle,
It's a bit from the middle to a corner is bigger than the bit from the middle to the middle of the side.
yeah, but the question is, let's say this would be a square. You could put the square like this, and then the corner is that direction. Or you could turn the square, and then the direction is that direction. Big machlek is what we do. Either some say, indeed, you can go whichever square you want. It means you can always go 2,800 pounds.
Whichever direction you're facing, that's the square.
That's right. Whichever one you want, that is the square. That's the corner of the square. It's the corner. Whichever way you want to go is corner of the square. There's a shita.
You always get more than 2,000.
We will get more. Rabbi Tam says regarding tchum, we go according to the directions of the world, north, south, east, west. It means the square is always parallel to the world, and that's how you have to walk. It means you don't get.
So it's northeast. Is it northeast the corner? Or is
That's
it
right. That's right. Northeast is the corner. Very good. Yes. What did you say?
It's a bar anyway.
If you make it, it's just making it more than 2,000.
Okay. So now the Gemara is going to discuss where do we get 2,000 amos from? Where in the world do we learn? Says the Gemara. Where in the world does the Torah say 2,000 amos? The truth of the matter is the halach of 2,000 amos, as Moshe correctly pointed out, I don't know who, that is actually only D'Rabbanan. So ask the question where it's written is very problematic. So the Torah says, we mean, where's that smachta? He says the Gemara does this many times. If he says it, the Gemara does it many times, we believe the Torah. Yeah, but even the one who says the right is only if it's 12 mil, which is a lot more. Tanya, Shvu ish tachtov, everybody should sit on his base. Eilu arbamas. The pasuk says Shvu ish tachtov aleisesh b'mkoyim, which is repetitive. Sit in your place, don't go out of your place. So we dash Shvu ish tachtov eilu arbamas says 4 amos if you've gone out of your tchum. Aleisesh b'mkoyim alpayim amos 2,000. How do we know it's 2,000? Aleisesh b'mkoyim means don't go out of your place. But where does it say 2,000? We have a concept called Gezeir Shava. Gezeir Shava means if we have two similar words, whatever is said by one is said by the other. Here, it's quite a complicated Gezeir Shava. It's a Gezeir Shava which is relying on many different psukim. Because in each, the word is found in many different places. It's similar words, like this. Lomadu mokim mi mokim. It says the word mokim over here, and it says in another place, mokim. Umokim min nisa, and there it says the word nisa. V'nisa min nisa, v'nisa mikvul, 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 mechutz, 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 and the more explains it all properly. Tichsiv. Umadrisa mechutz there is pa'is k'dvaim al pa'vaim amor. So why was like this? The Torah says aletze ish mimekoima, and then it says the pasuk says that v'samti lecha mokoim ashiyonu shomo. That's referring to somebody who kills by mistake. There's a place to run away. So we've got the word mokoim, mokoim. And there it says, Ashayonus, that the person shall run away to. So then, we took the word, by putting the word mokim, mokim, we now can take the word which it says by the second pasuk, which is Yonus, and put it by the very first pasuk. And then the word Nisa, Nisa, because it says like this, Gvul il miklotoi Ashayonus, and then we take the other pasuk of Gvul. And by Gvul it says, by Gvul it says, so we see that the word chutz applies to both. And then once we have the word chutz, it says, it's like this. We have a number of psukim. each pasuk has one word which we find by the next pasuk. So it's like each one's attached to the next one. Now the last pasuk says 2,000 amos. That's referring to the cities of the Levim. Around their cities, they got 2,000 amos. What was the 2,000 amos for?
They couldn't be killed.
It can't go.
Can't go out, and if they go out, you're killed.
That's the Kol Adom. But that was the 2,000 amos of the Oya Levim. They would get 1,000 amos. They weren't allowed to grow anything. And 1,000 amos was just plain grass, plain just greenery. 1,000 amos for cultivation of orchards and vines. The idea nowadays of a green belt, many towns have what's called a green belt. You're not allowed to build there without special planning permission. It's actually written in the Torah. It comes from the Torah, the guide of a green belt. Every city had to have a green belt of 2,000 amos. So now, there it says 2,000 amos. What do you say? The idea was to make the city nice. That the Oya Levim should be, because they would only get 48 cities, the Levim, so they would have to have around the cities. So, the pasuk there says also 1,000, not 2,000, because the Rashi asks question says 2,000 says 1,000, 1,000 green, 1,000 to cultivate. As well done in chutz mechutz, done in chutz mechutz. We always try to get a shava which is as similar as possible. Here it says chutz, not a chutz. Rabbi Shava regarding tzoras. Very, very briefly, Rashi tells a great length. Rashi ala Torah. If you ever did Parshas Mitzvah, Rashi describes this Gemara at tremendous length. We'll say very briefly, when the house gets tzoras, then what do? You have to, 3 stages. You lock it up for a week. If it grows, you take it out, the stone and the bricks and around it, put fresh bricks and fresh cement. If it comes back again, you have to knock down the house. Now, what happens if it grows at the end of the 2nd week, but at the end of the 1st week, it didn't grow at all, it just stayed the same? So the halacha is that both times you do exactly the same procedure. How do we know that? Because the Torah regarding the 1st week says of Shav HaKohen, the Kohen shall return. And regarding the 2nd week, the Torah says of Bo HaKohen. The word Shav and Bo, even though they're quite different, they are slightly similar. Shav means to return, the Bo means to come. They're similar enough to make a Shav out of them to teach us that halacha that applies to 1 week applies to the other week. Says the Gemara, so we see over here that you do exer Shav the word Shav and the Bo. Kavachim over here, when you were doing exer Shav the word Chutz to Chutzah. So why in the world do we not do exer Shav? Answers the Gemara, where you've got nothing more similar. We only learn with a domile. That means like this. If you're learning it from something which is similar, that means if there's no other word which is exactly the same, then you just take the closest word, which over there was Shav and Bo. If you've got a word which is more similar, you go for the word which is more similar. So that's the end. That means that's how we know 2,000 amos is exer shava. We'll go from one pasuk to the next until we get exer shava. Now, we had the machlokes now Mishnah 2,000 amos. We had Chanina and Tignus that says 2,000 amos as a circle. As you said, you put a compass or something in the middle and you draw a circle around your 2,000 amos. The Chachamim say you get a square. Now, by the cities of the Levim, they would get a square. That's quite interesting. They didn't get a circle. That means if the city was like this, this was the city of the Levim, they wouldn't get, they would get 2,000 amos over here, they would get much more, they would get 2,800. And they would go like that, where at the narrowest point was 2,000 amos, but they'd always get minimum. So the Gemara asks the Kasha that if you're learning it from Oya Levim, then you should get a square, not a circle, which is much more. So if you hold of this Gzer Shava 2,000 amos, so you should do include squares, that means including corners, I should say better. Corners. How does he know 2,000 amos? He holds the Gzer Shava. This the Torah says this should be for you 2,000 amos. Is always a miut. It's a miut to deduct that only this gets 2,000 amos and the corners, but others don't get 2,000 and the corners. Says the Gemara Rabbanon. How do the Rabbanon understand that they say you do get corners? And some more, this like this can be a miut and it can also be a riboy. Meaning it can also be an inclusion. Like this, as this should be all Shabbos. So therefore, all the halachas of those who carry on Shabbos should be like the cities of the Levim. Just like the cities of the Levim, they got corners. So also when a person goes out or goes to the Tchum, he gets 2,000 honors with the corners. You're not a chayv until you move them and the corner. So how much is them and the corner? What did anybody remember the ratio? How what's a corner from a square? How much long is it?
What was that? Sorry.
A square over a circle. Yes, it's no 1.4. It's more. It's 40%. 1.4. So 4 amas times 1.4 is 5.6. And this is very interesting. There are big 4 amas you have to carry up to 4 amas you have to carry. But it's 4, imagining it as if it's a circle, and then you imagine the corner, so you get 5.6. Let's explain this later. I wonder if you've got a picture here. Sorry, I'm just seeing. Look.
That's tomorrow night.
What's that? What whiskey? I'm sure I'm thinking whiskey.
Look.
What are we doing for Eiruvin? Another 2 months.
Everybody is allowed to carry. You're allowed to carry up to 4 amas in the Rishus Hashanah. So if you're standing in the middle of this cup, you're allowed to carry 4 amas, assuming that there's 4 amas in each direction. 4 in each direction. But no, you can only choose one direction, but you're allowed to carry. But then we said you square it off because we learned from Oya Levi. You square it, and then to the corner of the square is 1.4 more. You can carry. I'm talking about carrying now, and you can also walk. It comes out the other day as people always know you're allowed to carry up to 4 amas. If you look at the Mishnah Vur, how much did he say you're allowed to carry up to? 5.6. People don't know that. People always think this stuff.
Because you can move a square around, therefore.
That's right.
You're going is
very good. You can carry up to 5.6. What? No, amas.
Are you able to choose which direction you go?
If you're interested,
if Mishnah was saying 5.6, it must be that you can move a square around.
any direction. No, not a circle of 5.6.
But it comes out you are getting a circle of 5.6. If you can move the square around, the point of the square is moving.
Yes, very good. Yes.
Essentially, you get a circle.
Yes. Right. Frag Tosfos. If you look, Tos asks the kasha, you can't understand this. What's the obvious question? It's a very barabatish question. What's this question? Why everywhere we always talk about 4 amas, when in reality you're allowed to carry 5.6? No, you're allowed to carry 5.6. Why do we always say 4 amas? He says the answer is because the way you work out 5.6 is because you're allowed 4 and then Tos himself is not thrilled about it.
Why don't you just make a circle? We always say we're squaring off a circle.
Fine, just make the circle.
Make it. You're not squaring off a circle, and the circle is the corner of the square, and that's just 4. Make the circle.
You don't really get.
You do because we're
circle
squaring off a
smaller.
Yeah, but
circle.
you can't always choose which way
I don't understand the
We
question again.
can't choose.
You
The
can't.
Torah says 4 amas.
Yeah.
Chazal learned from that one place where we learn that a person's place is 4 amas. A person lies down and takes up 4 amas. Then the Torah says we learn from Oya Levim, just like the Oya Levim, they squared it off. Also, the 4 amas is squared off. So therefore, essentially, you're allowed to carry 5.6. That is the reality. That's the kasha. So why do we say 4? Because that's where we get it from. Because it started off the Makor.
And then when it gets narrow, the circle, because you can only.
Does everybody have a picture? Okay, because there's like a one picture.
No, it's 4, but you get the extra 1.6. You get the extra 1.6, and you flip it around. You can't. It's not the whole way around.
Every corner.
Yeah,
Every direction you go.
You can't walk sideways. You can't walk.
Hey,
The corners are there. You can't walk more there. Let me see. I'll show you.
Wait a second. Let's just do a bit more because we have to get completely off. Right.
No, why? I've not got my.
Omar Papa, Botiklan Movo. Omar Dushas Rabbi, Gvoyasa, Voichavabo, Tsechen, Valachsen, and Oloi. If you remember, a pillar which is 10 by 4 is considered Vishasayachid. What happens if it's 10 but a circle of 4? When we know Leilavin of Hanania, Tadu Hanania, Kazilko ships the Shabbos, you have to 10 by 4 squared, not circled. So if you look at picture, which Tolly is going to now load up, hopefully. Picture Reish Ein Zayin. Reish Ein Vav and Reish Ein Zayin. The Reish Ein Vav is even easier. If you look at Reish Ein Hey, by the way, I don't know why they made even a picture of it. They've got a picture. It says 5 3/5. It's very, very small print. 5 3/5, which is 5.6. If you look at the picture Reish Ein Vav, so therefore, if you've got a pillar, which the circle is 4, have you put it up yet?
Yeah.
Then it's no good. That is not a Rishus HaYachid. Why is it not a Rishus HaYachid? Because you've got no square. But the next one is a Rishus HaYachid.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
It
Turn the
makes a
square.
difference. So according to what this
Next
picture
one I should
here,
put on.
regardless of which way you turn, it's still got.
No, that's it. After that.
I don't know what I'm saying. It says in the pictures right here.
Right, that's it. That's the normal pictures. Right. It says it more like this. Here we have a machlekes in the machlekes. Whenever we have machlekes in the machlekes, it's kedai to keep it with track. Let's get it. I'll say it a bit outside and we'll say it inside. We know there's 2 ways to make an Eruv Tchumin. What are the 2 ways to make Eruv Tchumin? Very good. Said it very successfully. Standing or bread. It means either you stand by the Tchum or bread. We had machlekes in Rabbi Yehuda regarding standing. The mayor said that we only permitted for a poor man. I'm going to stick, as machlekes Rishonim, who is a poor man. There are those who hold that a poor man is anybody who's literally poor. Rashi doesn't hold of that. Rashi holds a poor man is somebody on a journey. Everybody else is considered rich. Because there's nobody in this world that can't afford 2 slices of bread. So therefore, that's what Rashi says. Right, I hear. But that's how Rashi doesn't say that. No, that's got to be Demai. You don't need to makna everything you've got. Most people think, so again, a poor man, we mean a traveling man. So we just use the words travel. Okay. So again, we've got 2 ways to do B'Kohen Eruv. What are the 2 ways? Standing or food. Comes along on there and says standing only works for a poor man, i.e. a traveling man who's never coming home and he can't fight, he's got no food with him and he needs to stand. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, this idea of standing is also for a rich man. I mean, even if you're at home, you can use it. So if you remember, we asked this question half a dozen times. If you can use it by standing, what's the te'eles of having it through food? Now, we have machlekes of Nachman and of Chisda. There are 2 ways to be koine shvisa regarding standing. What are the 2 ways to be koine shvisa through standing? One is you stand somewhere. You walk out of your house, stand 2,000 away, amos from your house, and say, I am standing here, I'm koine shvisa here. That's one way. Another way is to, no, shliach doesn't work, very good, we're very close, is to stand in X and to say, I want to be as if I'm standing in Y, and therefore I want to be koine shvisa in Y.
Even if you're not there.
Let's say you don't know of a specific spot.
He said you can't do that. You've got to reach there by Shabbos.
Let's say you can reach there by Shabbos.
Oh, so you've only got to have the ability to.
That's right. So
Right.
now, no, won't work by shliach telling to stand there. Food works by shliach. Right. Again, by standing, there are 2 ways. One is to literally stand. One is to say, have it in mind. Now, we have machlekes of Nachman and of Chisda. When Rabbi Yehuda said that you can that even a rich man can do standing, did he mean standing when you're literally standing there? But to say that I would be standing there, let's give it a good English phrase, standing in this place and a place where you could be standing, that doesn't work. Or, because the Chissa says that even where you could be standing also works. That means, the mayor says that the whole idea of standing is only applicable to the poor, i.e. a traveling man. And Rabbi Yehuda says no, even for a rich man. In that machlekes we're going to be discussing now, or we talk about standing, or where you could be standing. That's machlekes and Nachman of Chisda. Let's see inside. Where a person is standing in his place. That the main area was with food, top of Nun Aleph on the base. But a poor person, they allowed him when you're actually standing. And even when you're actually standing, doesn't work. Because according to Rameir, even when you're actually standing in your place, that means, for example, let's say one of us, Erev Shabbos, we want to go out of town. So we leave our home, walk 2,000 amas. According to Amir, would it work? No. Why? Because it can't overpass. You want to do it? Take bread. We didn't make it for you. If you're coming out of town, fine. But to say I could be standing elsewhere, only a poor man and not a rich man. That means where I could be standing, both Rameh and Rabbi Yehuda agree that it only works by a poor man. It means if you're coming home after a long journey and you've got no food on you, and you say, I could be standing 2,000 amas further, that only works by a poor man. Now, we're now explaining the Mishnah, B'shittas of Nachman. V'zui shamu, who said the words V'zui shamu, that only works for poor people, man ketonu Rameh. Where is he talking about? Where he doesn't know a specific spot, or he doesn't know the halacha that you can be kohen Eruv at a later stage. So he wants to be kohen Eruv where he is. And therefore, Rameh says that you can use standing. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it doesn't need to be a poor man. Even a rich man can actually be kohen shvisa where he's standing. That words that you can only be kohen, that Eruv works by bread, was a kula to make it easier for you. Man ketana lo Rabbi Yehuda. That was Rabbi Yehuda explaining his shitta that when you're standing, you can stand wherever you want. That a rich person can use bread to be sent to help him not have to walk himself. Rav Chisda disagrees. They're only arguing where you could be standing. That a poor man can rely on this head and a rich person not. Where I'm actually standing, again, according to Rav Nachman, let's get it started. According to Rav Nachman, where you're actually thinking about where you're going to be, everybody agrees with Rabbi Yehuda that only a poor man, not a rich man. Because you're not even standing there. Where you think you're going to be, only a poor man, not a rich man. Where you're actually standing, that's a machlokes Rameh and Rabbi Yehuda. Rav Chisda says no. Where you're actually standing, everybody agrees that both a rich man and a poor man can use it. Where you're going to be standing, that's the machlokes Rameh and Rabbi Yehuda. You make a chart of it if you think about it in your mind. Again, let's say it once more. According to Rav Nachman, he's machmir. Where you're going to be standing, that only works for poor man according to everybody. Now, Sheikh, when you're actually standing is machlokes Rameh and Rabbi Yehuda. According to Rav Chisda, it's more meiko. Where you're actually standing works for poor man and a rich man. Where you're going to be standing is machlokes Rameh and Rabbi Yehuda. Rameh Rabbi Yehuda, who do we pass tonight? We hardly ever pass that Kameh. Why do we pass that Kameh? We actually once learned it together, but we don't pass that Kameh.
People don't understand his.
He was so clever that we never understood what he was saying. See, being too clever is no good. But Meg was said nobody understood what he was saying. He could argue. We couldn't. Oh, so the Ma'aser, but maybe Rabbi Yehuda we pass that Rabbi Yehuda. So now going back to our machlokes from Nachman and Rav Chisda very, very briefly. If we pass like Rabbi Yehuda, if you're to pass like Rav Nachman, so then, according to Rav Nachman, according to Rabbi Yehuda, in the place that you are standing, who can do it? Poor man. Very good. Where you're going to be standing, only a poor man.
That's if you're standing there.
No. No, only a poor man. A second. No. Where you're going to be standing, where you're not standing at the moment, but where you are standing, then it's a rich man and poor man. No. You've got to do it in your head. It's no good having a piece of paper. It's not so hard. Mashik, according to Rav Chisda, we pass the neck of Yehuda. So therefore, whether you're standing, whether you're going to stand, both a rich man and a poor man can rely on it. Okay. Now we're going to explain the Mishnah according to Rav Chisda. So, and he doesn't know where he's going to plan ahead. And he can rely on it. Why? Because he's a poor man, according to him. This line, that bread is to help him with the shliach, both the Meir and the Yehuda agree with it. Why does the Meir and the Yehuda agree with it? Because even the Meir who's machmir agrees that bread has the advantage in a case that you can use where you are standing even if you're rich, and you can use bread for where you're to send elsewhere. Because according to Rav Chisda, where you're actually standing, even the Meir holds that a rich man's allowed to use. Okay. Tanya Kavos Rav Nachman. Rav Abayis that Rav we passed like Rav Nachman. So again, Rav Machlik Meir Rav Yehuda, Rav Yehuda passed like Rav Yehuda. Rav Machlik Nachman Rav Chisda, we passed like Rav Nachman. Rav Yehuda is meikol over Rav Meir, Rav Nachman is machmir over Rav Chisda. So we passed like Rav Nachman is being more machmir be'ishutas Rav Yehuda. Okay. So it comes out like this. No, it's not confusing. So let's say, are you a poor man or a rich man, Moshe? You're rich. You're rich. We said that anybody who's not traveling is rich. You've got 2 slices of bread at home. I'm sure you've got 2 slices of bread at home. You've got 2 slices of bread at home? Sure you do. So therefore, if you go out of the Rishus on Erev Shabbos and you stand there, will it work? If you go outside and walk 2,000 amos and stand there, will it work? Yes.
He's telling me, yes.
Yes, because that's when you're actually standing. If you're sitting at home and you decide that you want to be Kohen Shvisa 2,000 amos away from your house, would you be Kohen Shvisa? No, because he's wealthy. And we pass it like a Nachman according to Rabbi Yehuda.
The people shout that because you've left your house, because he's a poor man, that's why it works.
Yes. Because you've left your house, you've got no food with you.
If you're on a journey,
If you're on a journey.
If you walk from your house, you've left your house, you're a poor man.
Yes, because you've got no food with you. No, what do you mean? Oh, we'll see.
No,
yes.
Because
Oh, we'll see this point that you're trying to point out. What happens if? Okay, let's get to it. Tani kvos am nachat. Echad oni ve'echad oshim avin bepas. V'lo yitzi oshi chutz l'tchum yom ha'shvisas v'mkomi. A person shouldn't go out. If the Meir says that even a rich person can't even be Kohen Shvisa in his place. So what's Rav Yehuda say? You can walk outside, walk 2,000 amos, be Kohen Shvisa. Now, according to Rav Chisda, what would Rav Yehuda should have said? Stay at home and be Kohen Shvisa. Is a raya that you could have. That everybody agrees you can send bread to make it easier. There were 2 towns, Mamel and Gurion. The people there were very, very poor. And there was a 3rd town called Aroma, which was a wealthy town. Right? Aroma is the name of a restaurant, though. Is Aroma a restaurant? Maybe a restaurant, maybe that's okay. So the 3rd town was called Aroma, was a wealthy place. Oh, coffee shop, that's right. They would give out raisins and dried figs to people who were poor. They would stand 2,000 amos away when Shabbos would come in. And they would go home, and then the next morning, Shabbos morning, they would come again. They were poor people. They wanted to come on Shabbos to get the raisins. What would they do? Erev Shabbos would stand 2,000 amos away, come home, and then walk 4,000 amos. So what were they doing? What do you say? I thought you meant where they could be standing. No, they went and stood there. So you see, like Rabbi Yehuda, says it works. Oh, you're going to say to me they were poor. Yehuda says even rich. The answer is these people were rich. Why were they rich? Because they had food at home. They had food at home.
When they left it.
Yes, but they intended to go to make the tchum. They weren't going on a journey. They were going to make the tchum. That was the whole purpose, and therefore they're considered rich. That's right. Look at that.
From where you get set out.
I mean, like this. It's interesting. It comes out like this. Had they been planning to go on a journey, they would be considered poor and stuck to be poor. Since they're going to make the tchum, they're rich. Yes. Yes. Mamish the Gemara says that. Oh.
It sounds like
No. If you're planning to make it chumid, then it's not considered a journey. Why did you take food with you? That's more discussed later. That's more. My sister Mami Jacob, Diktoni. The next Mishnah will say as follows. The next Mishnah says, a person was planning to make an Eruv. And what happened was, he was walking, he wanted to go from Manchester to Leeds, and it's 4,000 amos away, and there's a town in between, and he wanted to put his bread down there. And his friend says to him, it's a cold day, don't bother walking. Go home. He's allowed to walk all the way to Leeds. Everybody else is forbidden. This is a very difficult Mishnah to understand. What's the rest of the time even doing? Must remember this shittas Rabbi Yehuda. It's not shittas Rabbi Yehuda. We asked Maishno, what's the difference between them and their friends? A person owns two properties, one here, one 4,000 amos away. He wasn't planning just to do the tchum. He was actually planning to travel for Shabbos. And what happened was, he would be considered a poor man. Why is he considered a poor man? Because then he's on a journey. So he's got stuck. So therefore he's okay. These wealthy people, all the rest of the term, they said to him, we want to be kind of shvisa by having intention where you stop off to put your bread. That should be good enough. So that doesn't work. Why not? Because they're at home. And they're saying where we're going to be. And wealthy people, where they're going to be, that doesn't work. What? No, that's Machid. Pashas not even using his bread. Not using his bread, no. Neither, nobody got to the middle place. Nobody got to the middle place. On the end, a poor man, yes, a rich person, not. Shmami, no, it's a raya. Let's just finish. Both a wealthy man and a rich man can be kind of shvisa in the place where they're standing. That we're passing like Rabbi Yehuda and not like the mayor. That means like this. There are two ways to understand what he meant, Echad Oni ve'Echad Oshir. Did he mean Echad Oni ve'Echad Oshir, that you can be kind of where you're going to be, and where you're kind of shvisa, where you're going to be, and he's paskening like a Yehuda according to Shittas of Chista, or is going to pasken like of Nachman that Allah Rabbi Yehuda is only b'mkoimi. So Rav said to him, no, Allah is like Rabbi Yehuda that only b'mkoimi, and therefore that is when Oshir and Oni are allowed to. Okay, we'll stop here. And Mr. Shem tomorrow we'll finish in the Perek. And there'll be and yeah, you need to get a new Gemara for Thursday.
New volume. Who's organising the next lots?
It's not too early, no, to do it.
No, because most of us already bought. Most of us already bought number 8. We've all bought number 8.
This is.
Krijgebieden.
Shkech,
We bought the end of April,
Yeah.
no?
We have to start thinking about the next one.
December, it's not far, you're right, December.
Hanukkah, we got that offer. We got that offer.
What should we get? 3 in a row?
I usually try and buy 3, yeah. What's the next one?
If you wait till December.
You know, it's very interesting. So you point out, we finished Pesachim for Pesach, Rosh Hashanah Yom Sukkah for next Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. That's nice. Quite Rosh Hashanah. That's quite nice.
If we're not in Shlomo.
If you should have.
Well, somebody did that.
Have we ended that?
Yeah, I hadn't intended. Sorry. Maybe just came off.